Hi, welcome to another episode of Chasing Mountains with Luke. Today I'm going to be running from Banora to Kingscliff. This is back to my local area, which is a very flat beach area. Now Banora itself has a couple of hills, so I'm going to do one or two hills before I head back on the very flat path to Kingscliff, and I'll be chatting with you along the way. So running down Banora Hills Drive. This is quite a steep, short climb back up, so I'm just going to head down to the bottom and we'll come back up again. Before I head back up Banora Hills Drive, I'm going to head up Lochlomond Hill, just up to the top and then back down again. I've really got to just make the most of being up at Banora where there's a couple of hills, because as you'll see, Kingscliff is dead flat. Quite a good hill. It's runnable but pretty steep still. Maybe like 15% or so. Here I am at the top of Lochlomond. Just a shortish climb up, but good to get a hill in. Heading down now. Down on that bottom steep section now. Turning right onto Banora Hills Drive. Now this is quite a steep incline, but it's a short hill. So I'm just going to try and run up with short steps. Just keep moving. Alright, coming to the top now. What they really miss in Banora on some of these hills are footpaths. I guess no one's crazy enough to walk up these hills. So they don't really have footpaths. Just keep that in mind. Be careful of cars if you come up here. Just crossing Sexton Hill Drive. A lovely view out there of Coolangatta on the north. Now heading south downhill on Sexton Hill Drive, down to the Tweed River, heading down the hill. You can also take the eastern side down as well. That's just on the other side of the highway. They both come out down the bottom near the pedestrian crossing bridge, which I'll show you in a minute. So pretty well signposted. Follow the sign to Chindera. And switch back. Oh yeah, there's the Tweed River. Now we leave the highway. Now you can turn right here and head up to Fingal Head. That's also a nice run. There's a footpath along the river. I'm going to head straight towards home, south. So just going to cross the road here. I'm going to go straight ahead at this intersection, but stay on the right side of the road. Tweed River. Just going to run a little bit along the river here. You can just see the top of Mount Warning in the distance there too. It's mostly covered by cloud, but you can see the very top. Taking a left here at the roundabout. So here we are in North Kingscliff. Should start to get a bit quieter now. And we have a beautiful path a bit separated from the road now. So I might take this opportunity to tell a bit of my story. So I started running about 4.5 years ago during COVID. As you probably know, the lockdowns in New South Wales were particularly harsh. And so even though I was never a runner before, I just felt like I had to get out every day. So I started off only being able to run a few hundred meters, and then I'd have to walk, and then gradually built up to being able to run, after a couple of months, run about 7Ks without stopping. And then I decided that I would put my sights on the Sydney Marathon, which I had 9 months to train for at that point. So I joined a training program on Garmin, just followed their half marathon training program actually, and gradually built up my mileage. I did get an injury. I find that the Garmin training program was a bit aggressive, considering I was not a runner. So my calves, for example, were quite weak, which meant that I had some ankles, shin splints, knee issues, because I found that it was a bit too aggressive, particularly with speed work, given that I didn't have any running base. So it's really important to work on that running base before you introduce too much speed work. In the end, I did manage to run the Sydney Marathon. I ran a 3:38, which I was super stoked with for my first big running event. But I really didn't enjoy it. You know, running on the road is just boring and repetitive. So I got a bit disillusioned and jumped on the bike for about a month after that. So I was just doing road biking around. Then I saw an advertisement for the UTMB Kosciuszko race, and I thought that looks really fun. Kosciuszko is one of my favourite areas in Australia, and so I thought, oh, maybe I'll do a 50. And anyway, I looked up the courses, and the 50k was just straight up the valley from Jindy to Thredbo, which I thought that's kind of sucky. I want to be running in the mountains, not down the valley. So decided to sign up for the 100k instead, which actually ran through the mountains. And I thought, well, I'll just take it really easy and I'll just finish. So this was about 5 or 6 weeks out from the race. I hadn't been running a whole lot. I'd been on the bike since the Sydney Marathon, and signed up for this 100k. So I tried to build up a little bit of mileage, but in reality I was massively undertrained and underprepared. But yeah, I went to the race, had a really fun time, and fell in love with trails. The highlights of the race for me were in the back 50, overtaking a lot of people. I think I was about 200 and something at halfway. Ended up finishing about 80th. So just overtaking a lot of people in the back half. And then particularly that last 15Ks, I met a couple of really wonderful experienced trail runners, and I just said, hey guys, can I just run with you? So I was really struggling and, you know, mentally getting a bit delirious as well. So I just ran with these guys the last 15Ks, and we crossed the finish line holding hands together, and yeah, I just cried. It was a big deal to finish such a race. So yeah, that's where I fell in love with trails, and I'll go into more of my story on another run. Here I am coming up towards the bowling club. I like to take a left here, run across this grass from the north. Up in the distance you can see Fingal Head. the other end of this car park there's a path on the beach side. Beautiful path down here. So we've got nice places to sit. Great playground for kids. Here's the north wall of the Coogin River. This is my favourite part of the run from Kingscliff back to my place. Just a beautiful path right beside the river here. Goes for about 1 kilometre. Just crossing Coogin Creek now. That's where we've run. So we're just heading down south from Kingscliff toward what the locals call Salt, which is where I live. So we have this beautiful path. On the left side we've got a nature strip between us and the beach, and on the right hand side there's about to be houses. Beautiful Kingscliff. So this is the little village centre that they call Salt. On the right hand side we've got a bar, hotel and the Surf Lifesaving Club, along with a bunch of restaurants. It's really enjoyable running down the path here. Really enjoying the beautiful houses on the right. Thanks for joining me on another episode of Chasing Mountains with Luke. Next time I'll go into more of my story, how I got into trails, more events and stories from them, and I look forward to seeing you then.